The biggest deal that I did, it was about $70,000 on a hotel deal. It was a lead off of the MLS, so it was like a free lead. It was one of those like still leads where it's like 2-3 low quality pictures.
What's up, guys? Today we have my good buddy Eliam Fuentes. What's up, bro?
What's up, brother? Aloha.
Dude, so welcome to the island of Oahu. I know you're traveling from California.
California, yep.
But the big thing I guess I wanted to ask you today is you are a successful real estate investor, flipping houses, making some money, but you quit real estate investing. Talk to me. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, man. As of 60 days ago, I ended up leaving the real estate business, the day-to-day stuff.
When you say 60 days ago, like what was a specific day or what?
Specific day. Like I remember the day to the T. January 31st, 2025 at 2 p.m. having lunch with my mom.
Wow. Okay.
And I just got like big discernment of like, this isn't where I'm supposed to be. Like my heart wants to go speak now. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be locked up in more deals. Mm-hmm. And I was pushing it out in the future, but I was like, no, life is now. Like I got to go speak now. Like the only reason why I'm in real estate is because of family, to provide for my family, but also money. But like I couldn't answer truthfully like why I was in real estate.
You know, it's really interesting because most of our guests here on, we talk about how like they love real estate investing and how it's changed their lives. And I feel like, do you feel like real estate investing has changed your life at all?
I would say yes. Real estate investing definitely changed my life because I got a lot of like technical skills, like how to run a business, like entrepreneurship, like traits from it. As far as like real estate investing, like I know I'm gonna continue investing in the future for like portfolio and generational wealth.
Or like a passive investor.
But as a passive investor, but as in terms of like active day-to-day, like flipping, wholesaling, I was like, why am I speaking one-on-one with people when I can make an impact in front of hundreds or thousands of people at the same time?
So it's kind of like you had a bigger vision than what you're doing now. So what the vehicle of real estate would allow you to do, you felt like you could do something bigger on a different stage.
Yeah, bigger. Yeah, that's what it was. It's like the vision I have isn't matching the vehicle I'm currently in. It's
crazy though. I mean, like you're. Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 24. 24.
You're 24, but you've got like a big vision. You know, I mean, like you still. I mean, like you had a lot of success in real estate as an investor, active investor. But now, like it seems like your shift to like it seems like you've got some pretty big goals and dreams.
Yeah, pretty big goals, dreams, declarations, visions, and I credit everything to like my faith and like my discernment from God because it's like He gave me this God-given purpose and talent, and he gave me a vision. Like he doesn't really reveal to me the whole picture all at once, but it's like in little fragments. And like the vision now is like to redefine the entire art of what public speaking and communication is, where it's like it's a big enough vision where like I can't accomplish it in a year. It's like a whole life practice where it's like let's reshape the entire industry, what it truly means, the art.
So walk us through like that time, like in the beginning of 2025. Were you planning to invest in real estate? What was like your thought process back then?
Yeah, like 2025 started like no other year. Like all right, end of Q4 in 2024. Like let's get the blueprint running. Like what worked last year, what didn't work. Here's like let's create the master
plan. Houses. Was it
yeah,
the main thing?
exactly.
Okay.
Flipping houses, wholesaling houses out there in California, and I had all my goals and my plan, the blueprint ready for 2025. Like it's time to scale. It's time to get more team members to up on the marketing. I was like in conversations with a partner in the market that I was investing in, and we're like ready to go. And everything was laid out for the whole next 12 months. But then it's like I was asking for my team members or people around me to be all in. But I couldn't truthfully tell them like, oh, my heart's all in with you. So it felt like really selfish for me. Like I was hiding this secret. Like I want to speak now.
I see.
And I tried doing both at the same time. Like at the first month of like doing real estate, like the first half of the day and delegating the rest of the stuff to my team. And then the second half of the day, I'm working on my public speaking crafting my messages, coaches and stuff. And what I noticed within just that first 31 days of the year was the first half of the day, I was operating out of my mind and ego. And then the second half of the day, I'm operating from my heart. And it was really conflicting.
The energy is different, right? Like when you're something you're passionate about, then it comes like it's natural. Like you're pushing it forward. You're getting pulled by your vision, right? Versus when it's something that you like, let's say you have to do, then it's kind of like you're being dragged or like you kind of have to push or force yourself to get it done.
And as like a driver type personality, like I could force my way and drive and push myself, and I'll still get results, but it's like at what cost? Like the cost of like my sanity or like my mental health or stuff like that. Yeah. Where like public speaking, it really is like I'm just feel like I'm always in creation. Like it doesn't feel like work. I just feel like I'm creating something new every single day.
So you know what's funny is it's like so somehow you found out that you enjoy public speaking.
Yeah.
But then like I say like 99.9% of other people hate public speaking, and it's actually like a big fear. And there's actually like studies where the fear of public speaking is actually like a bigger fear than death, you know? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And that moment of realization came to me like early in this year. Like I always subconsciously knew that people feared public speaking. Yeah. But I would approach it in a way of like, oh, like I don't have a fear. Like, this is fun. This is exciting. Kind of like in an arrogant way. But then it was a moment where I'm working out. I'm in the sauna. And I do deep reflecting because like I know my heart's telling me something. And I was like, okay, like if I don't have this fear of public speaking, like where does it come from? Because people around me tell me they have this fear. And I search up on Google, like what are the 3 fears of like top 5 fears, top 10 fears of humans. Yeah. And it was public speaking, taxes, and death. Like those 3 things. And I was like, well, I've never had this one before. I'm like, that must be valuable, right? If you don't have this fear, that must be valuable to someone, to the world. And then that's when it dawned on me. I'm like, okay, where did I get this talent from? Where do I have this from? And I was like, oh, it's my faith. Yeah. I was like, okay, let's run with it. Like, I don't know how the plan looks like, but I trust myself more than ever. And
so, like, how did you kind of get, like, how did the idea of, like, that you enjoy public speaking or, like, the whole concept of public speaking as a career kind of, like, enter into the equation?
As an enter into the equation, so, like, the first time I ever publicly spoke was when I was, like, 10 years old. Okay. Like, just reciting, like, Bible verses in front of church. Okay. And that was the first time I ever spoke. Okay. Like, all at the altar, just recited all these names. But then as I grew up, like in middle school and high school and college, and even at real estate events too, like I would go up on stage and, say some words or deliver a message. And there was this like adrenaline excitement that always came from it, where it's like, oh my God, this feels great. Like,
you naturally enjoyed it.
Naturally enjoyed it, where it's like I seeked it, like I craved it to like get on stage. And that's when like I met like people from like different walks of life and paths started coming across from me. And
do you feel like because in being in real estate, I think you're getting mentored under some pretty big dogs in California. Like they kind of created these giant stages, and then so like you got to kind of like be on those stages, right? From different things. Do you feel like that kind of boosted like your career or your trajectory toward public speaking from being on the stages?
Yeah, that definitely did boost myself. Like it gave me like the inspiration of like being around those people. And one thing that I noticed was these people that I would see get on stage, like they're by trade, they're not public speakers. They are like,
business guys,
business
or real estate
owners.
investors.
They have a great story, investors, have like a sales company or a software company. And they go up there and they just talk about what they do or what they've done. Not necessarily, and it comes off great because it still impresses the audience. But if they were to match that up with the actual art of public speaking, that's when it's like you take people through a roller coaster. Like Ed Milet does really well at that. Like he'll take people through
like a few guys like Ed Milet or Tony Robbins or a few guys, they're on these stages and you can just tell a great story.
They're storytelling. They're like treating this entire thing like an actual art, where sometimes you'll go to these conferences and they'll be like, rah, rah, like, this is what you do. This is inspiration, motivation. And everybody's like off of this dopamine. And then, but once you leave that stage, you're like, well, what do I do then? Right? Because you get that dopamine in the stage, but like a true storyteller that goes up on stage will have like a lasting impact afterwards.
Add value, you mean. So, I mean, there's two elements to the public speaking, right? You have to like add the actual value, but also keep the audience engaged at the same time.
Yes, right? Engaged at the same time,
So I mean, like, what I'm trying to like track this story here. It's so real estate investing, and then how did you? I guess where was that point where? Because I've never heard of public speaking as a career as like as a business thing. It's
so niche where it's like it exists, and the reason why it's not big known out there because a lot of keynote speakers and public speakers they find their money, they find their business from big corporations. So, like corporations like Google, Microsoft.
They'll pay them to speak at an event.
They'll pay keynote speakers because they have these big old conferences and they want to, have a speaker. Like they have these big budgets. Like they don't mind spending $10,000, $20,000 on a band. So what's another $15,000 for a keynote speaker to go deliver a message for an hour that will motivate their employees or provide something tangible to their employees.
So one of the things I noticed, I think, about like keynote speakers is typically they have like some kind of fame or some kind of audience when they that they're bringing to the event, right? Because they have the audience. It's like, hey, I'll hire you because you've already got the influence, and you're gonna bring in some I guess a crowd just by having your name on the top, right?
So that's really common in the entrepreneurship world, right? Where it's like in the entrepreneurship world, when we go to these conferences, they typically only put people on stage,
like a Tim Tebow or like a Ryan Pineda. These guys, who they have like a large following, and then they're the keynote speaker because of like their following more so than, or then maybe they accomplish something, but their following is more important than their actual skill level.
Like the credibility, like when athletes go up on stage, or it's like they get paid like a speaker fee because of like what they've accomplished, and those tend to be one certain type of speaker, which is called a motivational speaker, like a motivator speaker. But there's a bunch of other communication styles that people get hired for. Sometimes like the audience, it doesn't want a motivational speaker. They want like an educator, researcher type of speaker to like educate on a specific topic that you researched and you studied. And that's when you find like people like Brene Brown. Brene Brown's really
like
good
a researcher. I think
researcher,
like the she wrote a couple books, right? Like the
I haven't seen her books. I've gone into her podcast and stuff.
I think she did a couple TED Talks and things.
She definitely does a lot of TED Talks,
I think she wrote a couple books. I feel like I read one of them.
1,000%.
Either way, but she's like a researcher turned public speaker because of like the research that she uncovered or she's able to find, and then she presents it in a compelling way, like a speech or a TED Talk or something.
In a compelling way. That's exactly what it is, and it was kind of where it's like, like credibility, like what is it that you've done that gives you this authority to like speak and stuff like that. Where for me, when I transitioned it, because I had that conversation, I was like, well, while other public speakers get paid to talk about what they do or what they have done, I want to take a different angle where it's like I want to get paid to do exactly what I do right in front of you, because I'm going to paint a message that I believe wholeheartedly with paired up with my skills, and I'm going to paint that message right in front of you. So because I see public speaking from the lens of seeing it as an art before as a doing, where if you see public speaking in the eyes of like an artist, before you see like I'm just gonna go up there and talk on stage and speak something, you start unlocking this creativity, because my philosophy when it comes to the art of public speaking and communication is that every time you go up on stage, you're actually walking into like a blank canvas. A completely blank canvas.
So I mean, do you have a speech planned ahead of time, or you just kind of like
you still have like rehearsals. You still have like some sort of message.
So you still have like a roadmap of where you're trying to go.
You still have a roadmap, like your bullet points, your guidelines. Got it. But you're not going up there to recite word for word, or you're gonna go pitch word for word.
You're gonna feed off the audience's energy, or kind of navigate or take turns depending on what you're getting for as far as feedback. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Like you'll still get the audiences. Like, what is it the audience interested in? What are they? And then you'll shift and cater to them.
You know what I mean? Having an audience is like really important. I know like there's some certain times when I'm on like a podcast or show and then like there's like a blank screen and you can't see like any reaction. It's so hard to give a presentation or to have a conversation when there's like zero feedback from there's no audience, you know?
Yeah. So it's like you're always like practicing different personalities, different things, like seeing if this sticks. And like that's where like the power of like buddies, like I tell my buddies all the time, like, hey, like I'm a practice thing with you, like give me feedback. So as a public speaker, even as a leader, like you learn to fall in love with like the feedback process. Like give me feedback, like what's working, what's not working.
So does this relate to just like physically public speaking, or is it like online? Or what's kind of like is it the art of public speaking, like, or communication? What is like the
and like for public speaking, like it was my skill set of communication that opened up the door for me to publicly speak. Where something I noticed over the past 45 days as I'm building up this communication education company, because I want to teach others, the art of communication, like the actual skill set, because you are the common denominator in every single area of your life, whether it's, fitness, health, finances, community, family, you name it. But you are the common denominator of your life in every single one of those areas. plus your communication skills. So
Yeah,
you're in constant communication with the people or the environment in those, and it's those those inner dialogue conversations you have, but also those external dialogue conversations you have. Because I noticed that I got really good at the area of business and sales, but like I wasn't in communication with my family. I wasn't in communication with my health. My relationships were falling apart because I put so much influence on communicating in just business and sales that all the other channels, all the other communication channels were poorly. So that was really ineffective. And like other things would pop up in my life where it's like, man, like what's wrong?
So I mean, so I know as a real estate investor, you can make a lot of money, right?
Yeah, of course.
But then so is this, do you think like the opportunity is just as big in public speaking, or is it smaller, or is it like, what is like your outlook on and public speaking as a business, you know? So.
As a business, it definitely is like a big opportunity. Like the average public speaker, if we're talking in terms of money, like the average public speaker gets paid anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000 per keynote for like an hour message. Really good public speakers, like they could charge like $250,000 for a keynote, $1 million. Like there's even speakers that, charge $1 million for like a keynote 2-hour message or stuff like that. But it's like an accumulation of time. So like at the beginning, it's, it's like a $5,000,
you're only gonna get like a
$6,000
little when you start.
Or you go speak for free, but then they cover your expenses, hotels, flights, but it puts you in front of an audience that you wouldn't have been in before. Now you're in front of 100, 200, 300 eyes that you wouldn't have met before. And who knows, like maybe some people in that crowd, they want to hire you for their next one.
I see. So do you kind of have like a vision for like where you want to be in like 5 or 10 years as a public speaker?
5-10 years as a public speaker. I do have a vision in terms of like this communication education company. The main purpose of it is to basically help other people find their voice and unlock their purpose so they can communicate their message with impact. Because some people, they just want really strong communication skills because they want a relationship or they want better relationships with their family or they want a better career, that promotion. But it's the communication, the barriers you have in your communication channels that are preventing you from unlocking the next level. So in terms of communications, like to help, hundreds of students, unlock their communication channels, have healthier communication channels. As a public speaker, I'm letting God kind of just guide me on that one. Like I could name all these different accolades and stuff, but it feels like I'm walking in this like with all faith, and like I stepped into like what my purpose is for the rest of life, where it's like that philosophy of like, you had all the money in the world, what would you do for a living? I was like, oh, that's easy. I'd just be publicly speaking and traveling. And that's where we're up to now.
What I'm just trying to break this down because like, this is so like new to me,
Yeah, it's a whole new way.
I mean, like I know public speakers make a little bit of money, but like I said, usually there's some kind of other business where they make their real money from, right?
Yeah.
So like the whole idea to make your whole business based on public speaking to me seems very, very foreign. Like I'm trying to like wrap my head around this. I mean, maybe if you have education around it, then you can like if you have like a coaching program or you have people on that side, that's where you can actually like generate some income maybe.
So that's where the idea came, right? Where it's like I'm still an entrepreneur, I'm still an entrepreneur, but like I want to keep these creative, like creative being part of it, where it's like the communication education company is that business that you're talking about, like where it's like, let me teach others about the skill set of communication, not necessarily for them to be a public speaker right away, because like I'm in that process and journey of like becoming a paid public speaker, where it's like I've already publicly spoken multiple times, but it's that process of becoming a paid public speaker. So that's why it's like, all right, what business and what income can I still drive in? It's like, oh, it's just teaching others, the skill set of communication, how it could elevate the areas of their life. So that would be the business that.
What would be like
kind of like
the? Would it be like a monthly membership? Would it be like a course? What are you thinking as far as like the teaching others? A book?
So right now, like great question that you asked right now. Right now, we just did a masterclass, like a free masterclass, and just teaching like principles of communication. We had about 20 people join.
Okay.
And at the end of that, I invited them to like an in-person workshop.
Okay.
So the communication education business involves with like, a monthly membership for like, access to the course and like maybe like live Zoom calls that we're rolling out and doing in-person events, like in-person workshops, where it's like providing a playground, a environment where people can actually practice these communication skills and not just taking notes and, observing the knowledge.
I think there was a thing I went to before where like they do public speaking, it's like a little club, I guess. Like I think they have them all over where like every week is like a new guy has to come and share it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think you're talking about Toastmasters.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's
Toastmasters.
I mean, like any thoughts on Toastmasters or like something along those lines?
I've gotten Toastmasters recommended a lot.
Okay.
I've seen like clips of it. I haven't done. I haven't been in Toastmasters. I'm doing a leadership course right now. It's like an 8-month leadership course, and it's called like PhD 16. And what they focus on is what your vision is, and they assist you in ingraining the skill sets of like facilitation, public speaking, communicating as an effective leader in front of others, communicating your message. And a lot of it with those exercises that I do there, it's like 2-minute impromptus where it's like, all right, cool, go, like, here's a topic, go create something. And then like you're learning these on the spot facilitation skills. So when you access public speaking, there's like a bunch of other buckets that you could milk, where it's like one bucket is the role of a facilitator, like facilitating someone through a workshop, through an exercise. There is the role of a host, kind of like an MC, like, MC, like hyping up the crowd, teeing up everyone, edifying people. Then there's like the keynote speaker. And then there's also the communications educator, where it's like, it's those 4 or 5 buckets that I'm constantly in practice of. Okay. And that all ties back to like public speaking.
Got it. So, I mean, have you done any paid public speaking events so far?
Yes, I have. Okay. I am working right now partnered up with a nonprofit organization called the Dream Opportunity. Okay. And what they do is they connect Fortune 500 companies with students from underrepresented communities. So to expose these students to high income careers and put them on a path to either college or trade school, because these Fortune 500 companies, they want more talent, and these underrepresented communities, well, they want these kids
the opportunities and stuff,
right? Yeah, so that's why it's called the Dream Opportunity. And it makes me think of when I was in high school in that small desert town, California city, 13,000 population. You're surrounded by violence, drugs, like just complete drift, like complete like lost. You're there. It's like where dreams go to die. And I had a dream in high school. It was like, one day I want to come back to this desert when I could go talk, because our assemblies, our conferences, like our little pep rallies, they were always boring and dull. But then I would see these other cities that have these hype people come up. They inspire the kids. They get them dancing. They're motivating them. And that's what I'm doing now, where it's like I go to like places across the country and go speak to these students and go talk to them about like, hey, this is a college path or this is a trade school path. Expose them to something they probably wouldn't be in their normal environment.
What do something like that pay when you go to speak at a
from that one? It is a nonprofit, so it's like it will be there for like a whole day or something like that in service to the kids. So like it'll be like $400 or so. And a lot of it's like facilitation and also like public speaking.
So kind of combination of both.
Kind of combination of both, because it's for the kids. It's not for me to go and showboat. Hey, this is what I've done. This is what I've accomplished. It's more so like facilitating and providing value to the kids. Like we're here to serve the students. We're here to paint and craft a path for them.
Whenever I mean, so like just being like thinking about business in general, it's always interesting to me to see like where like the income or the revenue is generated. You know? And so like you're always trying to solve a problem as a business owner. I feel just listening to what you're saying is there's like definitely the art of public speaking, right? Where you have the craft and you have like that's like the service of the product, right? But then the challenge, what I see is now there's the sales and marketing where you have to be able to advertise your service or your product, and then that's where like the business kicks in, right? Because once you need like some kind of like leads in order to say, hey, like this is the service I can provide, whether it's teaching or it's coaching or public speaking, and that's what you get paid on the fulfillment. But then you need the sales and the marketing skills in order to get like, so someone will be willing to pay for like $20,000 for your services, like you know.
Yeah, like it's a valid point you bring in, because some people like whenever someone goes into like a field that requires like being an artist, some people just get lost in the passion of just being an artist. I'm like, hey, you got to make some money too with it. Like you got to make some money. So that's where my entrepreneurship skills kick in from like previous experience, from when I worked part-time, from when I, did my little side hustles in high school, from being in real estate. That's where it kicked in, where it's like, how can I still be an artist, but still also drive money for me?
That's a very hard, I feel like very hard dynamic, because they're so different, right? Like being an artist is like, you're a creative, you're doing these things, you're creating, you're doing things. And then the business side is like, there's X's and O's, there's like execution, there's a lot of like accountability and things like, it's just, it's a different kind of skill set when you're an entrepreneur just starting out. You kind of have to like do both at the same time.
Yeah, you definitely got to do both, especially like now launching this ventures. Like I'm doing both at the same time, where it's like I'm crafting a keynote message that I'm going to be pitching out probably like at the end, like mid quarter two. So I'm crafting that keynote message alongside also building up like the communication education company, where it's going to be focusing on like high ticket coaching for like others. And I'm starting to see that my ICP could be,
What's ICP?
ICP is ideal customer profile.
Okay.
Or sometimes UCP, unique customer profile.
Okay.
And what I'm learning is that my ICP is gravitating more towards like people my age, like in their 20s, either high performers, other entrepreneurs, or sometimes even leaders in their early 30s, where they want to improve their communication skills. Some of them, they either face the barrier like, hey, like I feel like I can't communicate with people, like I'm introverted, or they have all these limiting beliefs and judgments about themselves. Or there's some people who are really good at communication in just one area, but they're looking for that next level of their communication skills in their family or in their health. So it's like helping that type of profile, those type of people, in unlocking their communication skill, because it's like I've gone through so many journeys, ups and downs, and I've noticed it's when my communication skills are low, so is the quality of my life. But when they're high, I feel like I'm always flowing, creating, in connection and communication.
There's something to be said about having a conversation between like other humans, like just being in conversation with people. I feel like there's like we need that. It's like relationships are like super, super important just for our mental health, right?
Super, yeah.
I know you're focusing a lot on public speaking, but you also mentioned communication with your family, communication with other people, yourself, like with your health. And so I feel like when you're talking about communication, it's kind of like as a all-encompassing communication of just with the world around you, including especially other humans.
Yes, especially other humans, because in we all went through like the era of COVID. So like people my age, like all the 24-year-olds that I'm surrounded to now are like they're all entrepreneurs and stuff like that. But it wasn't like that at the beginning, right? It was strange for being 21 and going to entrepreneurship, because you're all these judgments and limiting beliefs are being placed and pushed upon you, and it's fine. Like they don't know any better, but it was this skill set of communication, like seeking more, like seeking wisdom from others. Like, so when I started entrepreneurship, like, okay, what is it that who do I got to talk to? Who do I got to be? Who do I got to talk to unlock that other level of communication? And that's when I went a lot into like the wisdom part, educating myself, like consuming the content, being shadowed, having mentors. And it was showing up and not being afraid to talk to people. And it's the relationships. And when we went through COVID, a lot of that stuff disappeared for like people my age, so that we resulted to just communicating via text, FaceTime, and email. And a lot of 20-year-olds, they stayed like that, especially if you're not in entrepreneurship, right? A lot of 20-year-olds, they stayed like that, where it's like they only
you're in
text.
your own bubble, like you're not forced to get outside of your phone or your comfort zone, right?
And it's not to say that that communication channel doesn't work, but it's really hard to beat, in person. And that's what I've been noticing. A lot of 20-year-olds that even if they're not in entrepreneurship, they face like I want to be part of a community. Like, I want to talk
like
to
in-person
people.
community, right? Like a face-to-face.
It's like they want to be a part of a community in person. But they have so many communication barriers that they have in their mind, or they feel like they have, that prevents them to be part of that in-person community.
So selfishly, like, I suck at communicating. I suck at like speaking on stages, but because of the platform that we built, I also get like a lot of opportunities to do it. If you maybe if you could like just coach me, like maybe like 3 points of like, what do I need to do when I'm trying to give a speech in front of like an audience,
Yeah, of course. I could definitely provide some insight right there. I would question you, like, what is it that you feel like you suck at public speaking?
I mean, I feel like I'm not funny enough. I'm very like a logical person. So like I'm like a software engineer. I look at the X and O's. So I'm not good at communicating emotion, or I feel like that part of it. I can't take people through a great story. Like I can tell them, here's how you do it, here's how I did it, but it's not like it's not compelling, or it doesn't like draw in an audience.
It doesn't draw like, so like people seek for you for like the facts and data.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is like you have like kind of like an analyzer personality, right?
Yeah,
and it comes from your like engineering background and how you grew up.
Just naturally, right? Like,
naturally, like that's your dominant strength, and it's not like a good, right, wrong, or personality thing like that, where it's like that's where you're effective, that's where you're dominant. So the thing about public speaking is a lot of people think public speakers gotta be like one certain way. Like they'll think they gotta be like a motivational speaker,
like energetic,
rah, like hoorah type of thing. Where there's these 5 communication styles, where it's like there's the educator, there's the leader, there's the motivator, there's the coach, and there is the friend. So a framework that I follow, the friend communication style is the way you talk to like your friends.
Your buddy,
it's the way you talk to your buddy. It's the way that you talk to maybe your cousins or your spouse. It's that friendly approach. So when you go up to speak on stage, you embody the friend communication style, where it's like that's your moment to crack a joke, and the real importance is to connect with the audience, find something relatable, right? So if you're in an audience full of, let's say, so you
can be like more like a chill friend. Like you don't have to be like a overhyped kind of guy.
You don't gotta be an overhyped kind of guy. Yeah. Let's say you're gonna go. An example would be, let's say you're gonna go speak in front of an audience of software engineers, right? And you know by nature.
Let's say real estate investors.
Oh, let's say real estate. Okay.
Investors.
Let's say with real estate. Let's say you're gonna go speak in front of real estate investors, and the real estate investors, what are real estate investors looking for in the audience, would you say?
Get started on their first deal, maybe.
Get started on their first deal. Okay. So a lot of people in the audience, they want to get started in their first deal. So at the beginning, you're going to paint a story of how it was to get your first deal. And the key there is to get in touch with your emotions and your environment on how it felt for you to get your first deal.
So I'm tapping into my own emotions.
You're tapping into your own emotions. Yeah. You don't want to tap into other people's emotions or try to fake something. You want to embody, like, how did it feel for you to get your first deal? And that would be a suggestion on how you open up the message.
Okay.
And then that's when you engage them, like, wow, this guy went through this, and this, instead of saying, oh, I just did this and this and this, and now I'm here.
So how did I feel through the process? I think so. Like as you're telling the story or as you're conveying a message, the emotion that you actually felt is important to convey to other people. Yeah.
Like how is it that you actually feel that? Like we could practice it right now. Like how did you feel when you got your first deal? Like before and after.
I mean, honestly, I'd say I was really scared.
Scared?
Like,
okay.
Like the very first deal was like very scared because you don't know what you don't know, right? And so you're kind of like, hey, like, is this going to work out? Or I'm like, what am I going to lose my money? Is this like a scam? Different kinds of things. So I think in the very beginning, it was like very scary. And then once they closed, I was like very excited or very happy because like, hey, like I did it. Like I closed on a deal, right? And then now the next process is, okay, now I got to renovate it. Let's take so there's also like some, like a little bit of anxiousness knowing that there is a lot of more work to be done. And I'm not sure you won't know the result until the very end where you sell it or refinance it at the very end. So,
Okay. So what I heard is there was a lot of like scared, like fear, anxiety, because you didn't want to get scammed.
Yeah.
So when you go deliver that message, you'll tap into like those emotions where it's like sometimes you'll lower your volume, higher pitch, your pace, where you could go and tell the story exactly like that. Like, oh, when I got in real estate, I was scared, I was anxious, I was afraid to get scammed. Or you could have like, when I got it started in real estate, I was just so afraid of being scammed by people because I have past experiences where I invested in business and someone scammed me from $10,000 and it crushed me. It crushed my spirits. And now that I'm going to go jump into this real estate venture, it's like, again, the same feelings are coming up. But if I would have stayed in that position, I wouldn't have found out what the results were afterwards. It was when I broke those limiting beliefs and said like, hey, I got to take the risk and go that direction and see what's on the other side of the fence. And it's like, it's the tonality.
So you're trying, there's, I think you're doing a lot of subtle things here, right? Like you're
there's a lot of subtle things,
there's a lot of, and that's why it's not just like you can't just take a course for like an hour and figure it out, right? There's there's like a long process of learning and developing and just holding it. Cause it's not, once you know the information of how to do it, the next step is, can you actually perform it on the spot, right? In front of a crowd when you're nervous. So like there's a whole bunch of things that are going on here the way that you're kind of relaying the story back to me.
There's a whole bunch of things that are going on. And the principle that I got taught a lot that really ingrained in me, and this is the principle I teach others like right away to kind of like start getting the wheels turning, is this concept called 88 keys.
Okay.
And I learned it from my coach, like Ask Vin, and this concept of 88 keys.
88, like
88 keys.
88 keys. Okay.
Yeah. So do you play piano by any chance?
Very little.
Very
yeah,
okay.
little,
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So you play piano very little, right? So you know a few
Mary
keys.
knows a little lamb.
Mary knows a little lamb. So you play these certain keys, right? You're really familiar with those keys. So this concept of this piano and having 88 keys is that a piano has all these different sounds it could produce, right? These keys produce a high note. These keys produce a low note. And it's exactly like that with your voice box. This right here is your voice box. Okay. And your voice is like an instrument. And if we look at it from the lens that, hey, my voice box is an instrument, that means it has access to different types of sounds. Okay. But as growing up, like in our household, or as we grew up in life, from teenage years to adulthood and everything like that, we got super familiar with just using our voice in one certain way. That if we try something new, we go like, this is inauthentic. This is fake. This is not me. This is not my natural voice. Because we have all these series of behaviors and habits that tell us, no, we got to speak this way. But a masterful pianist, they use the entire sound of the keyboard, and that's when they create a beautiful sounding music or sound, right? And it's like that with your voice box. A masterful communicator will use all the keys he has access to be able to engage people, tell more of a story, go to the highs and go to the lows.
I know this is like one of my when I was in college, software, like some of the worst professors, like they speak in monotone, right? It's like the same voice, like no inflection, just like the same thing over and over. And they're giving a ton of great knowledge or information, but it's so hard to stay engaged because it's so boring.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's exactly like this, like in the podcast. If I spoke like this the entire time, like we're gonna end up losing them. They probably right now on the other side, like, oh, I just tuned out for a bit. Because subconsciously, that's how we are as human. Or even if I stay with the high energy tone of voice the entire podcast, they're also gonna start tuning out. It's the variety of that. So when you start seeing your voice box as kind of like a piano, as an instrument, and that instrument is yours, like it's yours, like no one can take it away from it. Like only you give yourself permission to use that instrument. Then you start practicing your instrument. So like an example I give is, I can make my voice sound like a little girl right now, where it's like, hi. Hey, you want to hear it? Yeah, it's okay. Like an example, right? This is me practicing my instrument, right? And I'm getting rid of that judgment and that limiting belief. Like this is me sounding like a little girl. And hi, my name is Eliam Fuentes, and I'm a public speaker and an entrepreneur. Or I speak in my, direct voice, like, hey, I'm Eliam Fuentes. I'm a public speaker and entrepreneur. You want to add a different thing, like maybe a Western, like let me talk like a Western or a Texan. Like, howdy, sir. My name is Eliam Fuentes, and I'm a public speaker and entrepreneur.
So you're kind of just exercising like the voice box, what you're saying. So you may or may not tap into these things when you're giving your public speaking or public speech, but the fact that you're kind of like playing with all the keys, then you can put them out as you need, like down the line.
Exactly. And it provokes engagement. It's like, I'm not going to speak like a Western the entire time on the stage and stuff like that. But the fact that I could switch to that, it may serve me to get the engagement from the audience or tell a joke that maybe relates to that.
I feel like comedians do this a lot, right? When they give impressions or sometimes they're telling a story, they'll tell a story from like whatever their friend is saying or thinking, but it's like it's a different voice or it's a different kind of like it's a different voice, like, So but then it helps to keep the audiences go ups and downs and engage like the whole time.
Yeah, and we all have the ability to do that. Like it's your instrument. It's just requires a lot of practice. And think about it this way: like, do you like music?
Yeah, I like music. Yeah.
Have you ever been inside a car by yourself and your favorite song comes on and you're just playing, you're just singing that from the top of your lungs? Right? That was you using your instrument. Like you used your instrument, right? You used your instrument. You probably had more volume, lower pitch, higher pitch. It's like you use your instrument in the car when you're alone. Right? You're in your environment alone. So it's like, that means you do have access to the instrument, that you do know how to play these keys. So now it's about breaking the belief of taking it out into the real world. It's like taking it and like implementing that on the stages on the phones when you're talking to prospects, where it's like, it's not inauthentic, it's not fake. It's just, you're just unfamiliar on how to play those keys. And with practice and exercises, you become more familiar on how those keys work.
Very, very, very interesting. I feel like there's a lot more to unpack as far as just like public speaking and communication in general. You know, like it's such a huge different world, I feel like, today. But a big thing I think is social media and being like on like let's say like on a Instagram or a TikTok, you know. So is speaking on a stage different than speaking, let's say, to a camera?
It definitely is, because when you're on a stage, people feel the energy, right? So a lot of times you're crafting the message in real time. Like, what does the audience want to hear? Like, I'm getting live feedback. On social media, it's like those 5 communication styles that I mentioned earlier. It's like I got to somehow fit all those in a 90-second clip, right? Where it's like I gotta
15 seconds, right?
15 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it is. It's like I gotta make sure I vary my voice because my brand is communication. So I gotta make sure I vary my voice in different ways in that 30 seconds. So there's a lot of planning and rehearsing. But right now, what I've been pivoting to in social media is like the art of storytelling. Because when you're telling a story, your own story, your unique story, and you're connected with your emotions, like whether it's like you're working on your emotional intelligence, you're connected with your emotions, now the story becomes a lot easier to say. And you just gotta, repeat it.
Because you're just pulling out from like your own experience. So like it's not like you're rehearsing anything. It's just you're sharing your natural like, experience, your own natural story. Yeah,
like sharing your own natural story. And there is a framework, right, for like those people that want to like, okay, how do I do the story then? Like there is a framework. Like the framework for an art of storytelling would be like the incident, talk about the incident, like something that you went through.
Okay.
Then you go after that, after the incident, you would start describing the what, when, where, like how. And then the 2 key elements is providing something called VAX, which is that people fail to do is like they fail to provide a visual. They failed to provide like audio, like what it sounded like, and then kinesthetic, the feeling, and then the smell, which is the most important part, where it's like,
so when you're describing an experience, you want to describe it visually, how to sound audibly, and then what was like the
kinesthetic, the feel. Like I was touching this table and it was so smooth, and I ended up going to the restroom at this bar, but when I walked in there, it just reeked of urine everywhere. And that just came to my head right now, right? Where it's like describing every single thing, where instead of like, oh yeah, I went to a bar and I did this. Whereas like now you start providing
it's
more
kind of like
stuff.
reading a book where like they go into the details, and when they're trying to take you into that space, so you're actually transported into that area, right?
Yeah, the best storytellers make you relive the story.
You're reliving it alongside them by their descriptions.
Yeah, and that's actually why I'm in Hawaii, like for this trip, is because I'm on this journey to like learn more of the art of storytelling. And Hawaii, or pronouncing it wrong, right? It's like Hawaii.
I mean,
it's like
we all say Hawaii. Honestly,
okay, cool. And they like in respect, right? So it's like they're really known for the art of storytelling. Because I remember when I visited a couple years ago, like I would bump into locals, or I would see people just hang out, and they're like, "Yeah, come hang out, let's talk story." And I was like, "What do you mean, like talk story? Like just tell stories?"
That's a slang,
and then that's exactly what it is. Like, let's just talk story of like what's been going on in our life or what some experiences, and it's listening to them. And when they talk story, it's like they embody the emotions. You sometimes kind of feel the pain they may have gone through, or they're experts in making someone else relive it. Whereas like when I talk about stories of my past and what I face, like the trauma and all those things, where it's like I've healed from it, I've let it go. But in order for me to tell the story with impact for other people to feel, I still got to embody those same emotions. I got to embody those emotions that the little kid faced, so people could relive that story too as well. But it's being masterful of not getting stuck in the story. Like so many people get stuck in the story and they'll stay at the bottom of the story and they never provide the audience the upswing. But it's like if it wasn't for going through these tough moments,
like you have to have like an arc, right? There has to be like a character development somehow, or something.
Origin story, right? It's like the Batman one, like the Batman's origin story.
So I mean, diving into the origin story though, like so. It sounds like you're in a very exciting like point in your life where you're on an upswing and like you're discovering this new talent or this new passion of public speaking. But then how did you kind of get into real estate investing to start with,
How I got into real estate investing to start with, and relating it to the origin story as...
So yeah, tell us the story.
Tell the story. Okay, yeah, telling the story, because I am practicing and telling the story more and more, because that's what it requires to do on stage, where it's like that's how the audience connects. But when I was born in South Los Angeles. I was born in South Los Angeles, and
we want to do like the story of how did you get into real estate investing? Like what were you doing before real estate investing? How did you jump into it?
Okay,
that part.
That part. Okay, so before I got into real estate investing, right after high school, I was like, all right, I'm going full-time college student.
Okay.
Become an MLB sports agent. I'm driven. This is my path. I'm getting out of this desert. And COVID happened. Where it's like, all right, the healthcare, like the health industry is shot. The entertainment industry shot. Like, let me explore this real estate industry. Like, let me take a look at that. Okay. And at the time, I was working this part-time job of selling trap phones at Metro by T-Mobile. That's what it's called now, but Metro PCS. Okay. And it's funny because I always make the joke of like I went from selling trap phones to now selling trap houses. So I always make that joke. And during COVID, like they had us working and wearing the mask, and like I was gaining so much weight and losing my confidence. Like I was making money, like these commission for like an 18, like 19, 20-year-old at the time. And I was like, no, I'm meant for something greater. Like, I still got to get out of this desert. Like, how am I going to get out now if everything's shut down and COVID's happening? And that's when, like, real estate popped up. And I went through this season of, like, being a student of the game, which is the podcast.
Just learning,
the meetups and all that stuff. But it wasn't until, like, 2020, end of 2021, where it's like, all right, I want to be active. Like I have enough knowledge. Let me start making offers. Let me start making deals. Let me start putting pieces together. And that's when I found like my first mentors out there in California that I met off of social media. Okay. Because no one in my sphere of influence is doing deals. And then I was like, well, how am I going to connect with people? And that's when I connected on social media and met a mentor there. And they were doing deals in my backyard. And I just hit him up on Instagram and built a relationship, started communicating with them, and then over 3 months he invited me to a real estate meetup. He's like, hey, come down to this real estate meetup. I was like, okay, cool. Like I drove 3.5 hours to my first 3.5 hours to my first real estate meetup. Any opportunity I could get to leave that town.
Do you remember where it was?
It was in Paramount, California.
Paramount,
California.
Who was speaking at that one?
Who was speaking at that one? It was Alex Camacho and Will Walls. They were like hosting a meetup at one of their flips. At one of their flips. And
so you actually got to see a flip in progress.
I got to see a flip in progress. Yeah, I got to see a flip in progress, and I was so excited. I was like, just
it turns it from like just like somebody else is doing it to like you can feel, touch it, and like I can actually do this, right? Like when you visit an actual flip, I feel like there's a lot of things in life where once you get like the belief that you can actually do it, that's when the journey starts. Like, this whole thing with like public speaking is, in terms of like, there's Tony Robbins, he does it, but then there's Eliam Fuentes, I can actually do this. There's like a turning point where like it becomes a reality for you,
Yeah, where it becomes a reality for me. Are you asking me like,
no,
when was that turning point?
Like that. Yeah, so that.
When to be a turning point, So
I mean, you go to this meetup, right?
Go to that meetup.
You see like actual flip in progress.
Yeah.
And then how do you actually become a real estate investor yourself?
How do I become a real estate investor myself? That's a good question. So when I met them, I ended up kind of doing mentorship from like bird dogging.
What is bird dogging?
Bird dogging is essentially going around the neighborhoods, looking like abandoned houses, distressed properties, and then putting them on a Google Maps sheet or putting on the app like Deal Machine. So they had me bird dogging, like just finding distressed properties in my neighborhood. So I did that for some time, and then the next role ended up developing into like assisting the project manager, like going on Home Depot runs.
So like doing like the actual renovations of the houses.
Yeah, not with the hammer.
Yeah, but overseeing them,
like checking on the contractors, making sure they're working, and I'm like, all this 20-year-old kid, like I'm not even.
Did you ever get pushback from the contractors?
I did get pushback from the contractors in terms of like their facial expressions, where they were like they're like, they wouldn't take me serious, or they'll be like, you're what? I was like, huh? Yeah. And because I would speak Spanish with them, so they always say like, ponte a trabajar, where it's like, get to work. Like, what do you mean? And I was like, I am working. Like, I work with the guys who own the place. So I definitely got some pushback from them, some weird facial expressions from them. But over time, it was like, the communication where it's like I showed up more like open, I'm more interested in them.
Once you're consistent with it and like they see you coming around regularly, you kind of earn the respect.
Yeah, earn their respect where it's like, okay, he's not just dreaming here. He's not like, some idea just, annoying us or something like that. Then that's when they see like more respect. So assisting the project manager a lot. And then after that, I always had like this skill set like of sales. Like I always like sales, marketing. I wasn't the best at marketing then, but I was like sales. I was like, oh, I don't do sales. And that's when like the whole world of acquisitions ended up opening up.
Got it.
Where it's like I started
acquisitions mean like buying like distressed houses to either flip or wholesale.
Yeah, they're acquiring the contracts, acquiring the opportunity, acquiring the lead, like anything acquisitions, right? From acquiring the lead all the way to acquiring the property at the end of escrow. So that ended up opening up for me a lot, which is like.
How old were you when you first started doing that?
I put my first offer in at probably 20. So I was like 21. Like
so how old were you when you got your first deal?
I was 21.
So you're 21 years old when you got your first deal.
Yeah, 21 when I got my first deal. I ended up flipping in with them. It was like the biggest like $6,000 check in my life. I was like, what the heck? Like, I did all this. Like this is half of like what I made in my part-time job. Like this is amazing. So and then that's when like the deal junkie like
that's when like the light bulb kind of started to switch.
Light bulb came in. I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is real. This is happening. And like all the prior, because it took me 8 months to get that first deal.
Yeah.
It's like all that I went through in 8 months just completely went out the window. I was like, oh, like I got this deal now. Like I'm this new person. Like I know what I'm doing now. But it was like breaking all those limiting beliefs first, like feeling worthy of getting a deal first.
So after you got your first deal, how long did it take you to get your second?
After I got my first deal, it took me like a month and a half.
Okay.
Like a month and a half to
get
the next deal.
The same story I hear all the time. It's like 8 to 9 months to a year for the first deal. Then the next deal comes like a month later or like 2 weeks later. It's like, and then it starts to probably snowball. Yeah. And then one was like, how long to your third deal?
And then how long into my third deal? I think it was like another like month.
Okay.
So I started getting inconsistency.
Got some traction. You got some momentum. Now the deals start to roll in.
Yeah.
21 years old and just like the banging out deals
at 21 years old. I was in college full time.
So you were going to college full time?
I was going to college full time.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like college full time and then also like full time, like, doing this acquisitions role, real estate investing, chasing deals. So like there was times where I missed school to go chase deals, or sometimes I missed deals so I could go and like enjoy college and party and stuff like that. So after reflecting and like after I graduated, I was like, man, I wasn't effective with either, because it's like I was half in with both, and half in here. Yeah. Where it's like, I still got like, some success and I still look like a shining star for my age and for what I was doing at the time. But then when I look back at it, like as an entrepreneur, I was like, man, that wasn't effective.
What's like the biggest deal that you did one year?
The biggest deal that I did, that would say like it was a team deal, so that one would be like a $72,000, like about $70,000 on a hotel deal. Wow. On a hotel deal.
So like, that's a quick deal. So a quick $72,000 in that guy.
Yeah. It was definitely $70,000. I mean, it wasn't quick because we had like some eviction, like the whole process. It took like 4 months.
Okay.
Like the whole deal from like acquiring the lead all the way till we finally like close it off. It was like 4 months because we dealt with like an eviction, dealing with tenant relocation. But it was a lead off of the MLS, so it was like a free lead. It was just a lead off of the MLS. Called, took it through took the agent through the process. It was one of those like stale leads where it's like it has 2-3 low quality pictures, not many saves.
That's the best lead, right? Because like it's marketed terribly, so you're gonna have like no competition. Like nobody really wants to take a look at this thing. So when you come in, you're like, hey, you're basically like the only buyer in this spot.
They're the only buyer, and the great part of it too was the agent, the real estate agent that was for that property. She was a part-time agent, so she wasn't even doing this full time. Yeah. She was just like,
but she's just kind of like not giving her best effort, right? So.
Yeah, she's not giving her best effort. So like she's not giving her best effort, so she's gonna just listen to the expert. Yeah, and I'm the expert, so it's like I drove, like I actually talked to the tenant. I talked to the lady. I got in communication with the homeowner. I relayed messages with her, so I was like facilitating the whole thing. So whatever I'd say, she's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
A lot of times too, what I notice is the part-time agents, or like let's say like the lazy agents, they just want like the easiest route. So if you as an investor can provide them an easy route, they're more concerned about the easiness of the transaction than what the actual like value that's gonna get at the very end.
Yeah, the convenience. The convenience.
So, especially if you can come in as an expert and you can solve all her problems. You talk to the tenant, all these issues like there. So they're they're squatting or whatever the different things. Like if you can solve all that for her or him, then like now they're like, I would rather go with you because like I don't want them to deal with all this crap, right? So
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you provide the convenience. It was because the agent lived like 4 hours away from the property, so she didn't want to do open houses. She didn't want to travel back and forth. She's like, it's not worth it. And she would make her money in like her actual jobs. Like the real estate was just something side. She just happened to have her license, and it was an old time friend. Like, hey, can you help me sell my house? The lady that owned the property, she was entering retirement, so she needed the money for like medical funds and also to like for her retirement housing. And the tenant in there, she needed like time to move out. She had a dog and she had trouble relocating. She was a Section 8 tenant at the time. So those were get a little tricky in California. And then there's just this, 22-year-old like, hey, I want to buy your house. And like, you guys don't want to do the work, but I want to do the work. And that's when I was able to like get a bigger discount. I was listed for $350. And after like 3 conversations, we ended up getting locked up under contract for $250.
Oh wow, that's a big difference.
It's a huge difference, right? So it's like $350, and it was locked up for $250. We locked it up for $250. And I would ask them like probing questions, like, hey, like how come you guys haven't had any offers? Like, what is it? Like, what's happening? And she's like, well, I think I priced it too high, but like the owner doesn't want to like, bring it down, so no one's put an offer or anything like that. I'm like, all right, so it's like, I'm not saying I could give you guys the $350, but like, is she open to entertaining offers? Like just something on the table to kind of see what's happening.
Well, did you guys actually offer $250 or did you offer lower?
I think I offered, the $250 from the get go. I offered the $250 from the get go because I was like, look, I told her, I was like, I'm gonna be in the area. I'm not some other investor. I'm not just gonna throw a number on the wall.
You actually took a look at the house.
I'm gonna go see it. Like I'm gonna go see. Like I told her, like I gave her like an anchor. Like I mean, if I get this vacant, then I could see 270 working. But like if I go discover like this is problematic tenants and they're going through a whole bunch of issues and stuff like that, then I'm gonna tell you like honest, like 230. And at the time there was like a little shift in the market. There was a little shift in the market, so there was like a lot of like some bit of fear there. Uncertainty that I was able to work with. And I went to go look at the property in person, talk to the tenant. And me and the tenant had a really cool relationship, but I did notice the tenant had some pain points. So I was able to gather all that information, meet the tenant where she was at, and then I related all that information to the homeowner and the agent because they didn't know what the tenant was going through. And I told them, like, hey, this is gonna require me some more effort. I'm gonna set money aside to help her financially and things like that. I'll take care of the cash for keys. I'll take care of the entire process. All I need you guys to do is just properly deliver the eviction notice. And I'll handle all the rest of it. And like, but since I'm gonna be doing that, I'm gonna need it at this price because I'm gonna be taking risk and I'm gonna be coming out of pocket. And then that's when I hit the 250, the 250, and they're like, okay, cool. Like, I mean, I got no other offers, and I think they wanted to like net like a certain amount, and the amount added up for them.
What did you guys end up selling for after the whole process?
We ended up selling it for. Oh well, in the escrow period, I ended up getting a price reduction. Okay. So I got a price reduction for another $20K. Okay. Because it ended up becoming a problematic eviction process. Where now she was like, at first she was on my side. Yeah. And now she's like, I'm not moving out. I want even more money. Oh, wow. I was like, oh, shoot. All right. So it's like we went for a reduction. So 230. And then we ended up selling it off for 300. We wholesaled it. Like when she finally moved out, we just sent in demo guys, removed it. Like I sent in my brothers and my dad, like they just went to go get the demo out and stuff like that. And they trashed it out for like $3,000 and stuff. And then we just like wholesaled it out for 300. Oh, nice. So it was like one of those deals where like I did from A to Z, like I did the acquisition and the disposition because I knew who was I selling it to, but it was not under my entity. Like it was not under my jurisdiction. So it's like.
So you didn't get credit for it, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get credit for it too. It's like when I think about it now, I'm like, I sourced the lead because it was from a free marketing channel. Like I sourced the lead, I did the acquisition and the disposition, but it was that. It wasn't like I didn't put it under my name or my entity at the time. So like that was like.
Well, that's one of the things. Like when you're just starting out, you do have like the oversight of like a mentor or like a team to work to kind of have guardrails for you. Yeah. So like you're giving up one thing is you're giving up more like giving like a lot of profit and the credit for like the the safety. Yeah.
For the
it's
safety
like the,
of it, yeah.
But then like in the future, once you have like, you feel like you're good enough to like have your own experience, now you give up the safety, but you also take on more risk because when you're on your own, now like 100% of the risk goes onto you, right?
Yeah.
But also 100% of the profit. So it's kind of like you're gaining the profit, but you're also getting the risk at the same time.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. It's a trade off.
Yeah,
like, you gotta be willing to like see the trade off. And it was like after doing that deal, that was like the big moment. I was like, oh, like I have like the skill sets to do it on my own. And that was, I think, that one of the last deals I did with the team I was working with. And then from there, I just continue following that model, like all for the rest of 2023 and a bit in 2024.
Do you think like, let's just say like for whatever reason, like the public speaking is more difficult than you thought, or it's like not going where you want? Would you ever revert back to, let's say, the real estate investing?
Real estate investing in like what aspect? Like
just
back to
curious,
wholesaling and flipping?
or something active. Just curious,
I'm gonna say no right now.
Okay.
Like no,
okay.
like there's like now I'll be lying to you if I didn't say like, hey, if a deal came to cross my table and a buddy of mine hits me, he's like, hey, you got like a quick buyer for this?
Yeah.
Because I that happened to me like last week before I got on the trip to Hawaii. Like a buddy of mine said like, hey, I have these 2 land deals in Cal City. I don't know anything about it. Can you move them? I was like, yeah, just let me make 2-3 calls and I'll get it sold.
Because you're already connected. You already have the skill set,
connected, right? So
but it takes no effort from you.
If it takes no effort from me, and if it doesn't detract me away from like the vision, the path that I'm on, then I'll do it. Because like a mentor of mine told me, he's like, look, especially now that you're in this new venture, just because like you're all in to like the public speaking and stuff, like if money comes to you, like if like a small money or a blessing comes to you on the sideline, and you have the capability or the connections or even the bandwidth to take it on, and it's not going to cause a lot of stress or not too much effort, do the deal. Because it's like $6,000 is better than nothing. So it's like that's how it was for those 2 land deals, where it took me about 30 minutes of work, total talk time, and then we're making like $8,000 from those 2 deals. Where it's like, okay.
But the thing, I mean, like what people don't realize is that you also built up years of experience and connections where you can just you're leveraging that, right? So like your buddy has a deal, but he doesn't know how to like display it. So like he's leveraging your skill set and your network at that point.
Yeah, exactly. At that point, it's like making it.
Even though it only takes you like 30 minutes, like
now it took me 30 minutes, but it used to take me 8 months, right? It's like it took me 3 years to build that up to be able to have those moments where like, oh, I could do this in 30 minutes.
I mean that's to me why I'm just curious, because you spend so much time and energy to build a skill set where you could potentially make a lot of money, right? And like you're so leveraged because you have like the connections and the skills, but like you're leaving it all behind to chase the new venture, but then you're starting from zero. Like, so like now you're gonna have to build up your new network, your new skill set from the ground up, which is gonna be this whole adventure in itself. But then, like there's no proven track record to get there. Like, versus like in real estate investing, like there's
the blueprints
there's a million like successful real estate investors, right? But public speakers, there's like 5, like, like that. I'm just like genuinely curious on like the thought process to jump to this new kind of venture, like,
no, I get excited when like, I enter like discussion, or like when someone like asks me stuff like that, where it's like the logical part is like there's the blueprint there, like you had the network, you had the success, like you had like the people, like all you had to do was just continue following the blueprint, the success. And it was the moment where I ended up getting this deal across my plate, and that was like the very pivotal moment. I got this deal across my plate on a Friday morning. And like no other day, I'm doing my routines, hitting my KPIs, talking to my team members, and this deal just comes across the plate on my SMS. This agent's like, "Hey, I got this deal for you. All you gotta do is essentially just say yes." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Okay, numbers make sense." I hop on the phone call with him, and he said like he started telling me the details of the deals, and he says like this is a probate deal. And I was like, okay, like, well, how long is the probate? How long is it gonna take for us to even get access to get the ball moving on this? And he's like, well, it's gonna take about like 2 to 3 months. And when he told me it's gonna take 2 to 3 months, but the wholesale deal would have been like 25,000. All my ears just heard was 2 to 3 months. And the way my body reacted, like I'd say my heart was like immediately, like the loudest I ever heard my heart was like, I don't want to be locked up for another 2 to 3 months. Like it didn't sound to me like a money opportunity. It sounded like my heart interpreted like, I don't want to be locked up for another 2-3 months. Like
doing real estate investing, you mean?
Yeah, like doing these deals. Like I want to go speak now, because at the end of 2024, I discovered like people want to hear me speak. Like throughout these leadership training and these like emotional intelligence journeys I've been on, like people want to hear me speak. They want to hear me speak more. They're like, you're robbing us when you don't speak. Like you're being selfish when you don't speak or you share your talent with the world. And like my heart knew it. I'm like, oh my goodness. And this deal came across. And when he said that probate, 2 to 3 months, I felt my heart just drop. I'm like, like another deal that's going to take 2 to 3 months. Like, and my heart was like, I'm going to be locked up for another 2 to 3 months. And my heart was like, I want to speak now.
Here's a counter argument. Like, you're just having a counter conversation is, I think what I've seen is like the real estate investors in the past is whenever things get difficult, then like they'll choose something that seems more fun or easier, and then they'll chase that for like a little bit of time, and then that becomes difficult or like more like challenging than they thought. Then they're gonna chase another thing that's like more, this seems more fun. Like I'm not saying this is what you're doing.
Oh yeah, of course,
but
of course. Like, that's the counter argument.
It's a pattern that I've seen, and then like the problem with that is, there's a point where you have to get over the hard and the unfun, and it's gonna just suck, and like you're not gonna enjoy it at all. Because I've been through those moments,
those phases. Yeah.
But once you break through that, it gives you like the opportunities for doing other things. Like, you know, so I'm just saying like let's say like you were to just hypothetically stick with the real estate investing thing. Let's say you make a lot more money. Like say you make like $1 million, whatever things, right? Now your success in things will launch you to become a successful speaker, but then you have this thing, this passive income already like figured out. Like you don't have to worry about money at that point. Now, like when you chase your dreams, it's not as stressful. Like I have to land this gig. You know, I'm just like thinking about in your best interest. Like, you know.
Yeah, so, of course. No, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because like I had those thoughts because it was a conversation that was brewing for like 5-6 months. Like because the master plan was like, okay, we're going to team up with my partner. We're gonna put the systems in place. We're gonna hire on board and like take them through the process. We're gonna continue dialing in our systems here in our marketplace, and so I could leave. So I could position myself to leave at the beginning of 2026. Okay. So like the plan was like. Yeah, like
that, exactly what I was saying. Like, hey, just get it passive. Like, get the machine rolling. You're bringing in money. Now you can leave and like pursue like what's more fun for you.
Like exactly. Like now go pursue the passion. And the thing was it was like with my like communicating a lot with like my faith in God. It's like it was this. It goes back to like the first half of the day I was operating at like, you know, maybe ego and just mind and just logic. And the second half I was like, you know, like with like all hard public speaking. And I remember like, you know, just reading scripture and like, it's like God was just telling me like, cause my vision board this year, before I had like all these pictures and different things, like my vision board this year only has like one picture and it's literally the word faith. And I was like, okay, like, what does that mean to me? And when I'm in those moments with my mom, like ready to make the decision and pivot, it was like that moment of responsibility. I was like, how am I responsible for everything that's going around me? And like, you know, I was projecting, I was like casting I was telling other people what to do or what they should do. And like, but deep down I had this secret of like, I want to speak. Like I want to speak now. I don't want to keep waiting. I keep telling myself that I'm going to build this public speaking business or this, you know, communication, like from now. Like I want to speak now. Like I feel confident now. And I started seeing the doors open. Like when I was the first 30 days of the year, when I was doing both the real estate and the public speaking, I started to see a lot of doors starting to open up in the public speaking where now my time started getting taken, like it started like overlapping the real estate stuff. And I was like, oh my goodness, like these are moving fast. Things are starting to open up. And once I made the pivot announcement, like 3 days later, like the doors just started opening up when I powerfully chose I was like, look, I don't know how the plan looks like. I don't know like what it is, but I told God, I was like, as long as you just keep revealing like the next steps for me, then like you just keep revealing the next steps for me, the next like little bites, then I'm just going to surrender and just have faith and I'm going to just trust the process.
Dude, I mean, like, I love the energy. I love it. Like, bro, just like obviously, like, I feel like I'm a parent talking to my kid. Like, you know, it's like, and the parent's like, dude, like, go the safe route. Like, you know this is gonna work. But the kid's like, no, I want to follow my dreams. I want to stretch it out. Yeah. So you're the kid. I'm like your dad. Like, dude, you know, make sure like you should just follow the safe route where you know you can make a lot of money. But then you're like, hey, no, I'm gonna follow my dreams, and I 100% respect that. You know? So like, I'm super stoked for like the journey that you're gonna be on, and just like I'm just super excited for what you're gonna experience in the next 5 to 10 years. You know, so good on you, man. So
it's like I'm gonna look back on it and I'm like, it was like that crazy delusion. I was like, because like when I was real estate, like even though the blueprint was there, and the now I'm going into like where the blueprint's not there, right? Everybody's blueprint looks different. Going there is like. It's crazy how much I trust myself more going down this route than I trusted myself when I was in a logical blueprint. Like everything was mapped out for me. It's like my trust levels are so much higher here in public speaking because it's like I feel like I not feel, but like I know I'm walking in purpose. Like I'm walking towards what I'm being guided to do. And as long as the little steps get revealed, and this communication education company, it's like that provides income for me to feed myself, and I do have like some reserves and stuff like that, or people willing to invest in me. So it's like, okay, cool. Like now it's like, let's stay on track on the vision. Like I don't know how it looks like, but like the vision is so big that it's bigger than my circumstances. Where it's like the vision for myself is to redefine the entire art of public speaking and be the best public speaker and communications educator there is. So the entire world could see the from a lens of art, where everyone could access public speaking and their communication skills. When everybody accesses that, that's when people can start spreading their messages again. They can find their purpose. They can communicate it in the world. Because it's like, what happened to the world where we had like the MLKs popping up all the time, the Gandhis popping up, the Mohammeds all the time. But it's like now we have like a society where it's like always trying to push your message down. It's like, no, like let's unlock it again, because that's when like ideas were spreading and then like there was influence and the world was transforming or changing. It's like unlocking that. And a lot of our foundational principles come from Dale Carnegie. Like you read Dale Carnegie, he's the author, and I've learned a lot of principles from him. Where it's like for my generation, the way I look at it, like as a kid, like man, I was like, it's time to put a new face to like, a Dale Carnegie. Like I could be the Dale Carnegie for like my generation. Like, it's like, we're still learning from like these principles from like the late 1800s and early 1900s, but like they're valuable, but let's put a new face. Let's put a twist. Let's a new voice, a new voice.
Use your voice box a little bit more on this.
Yeah. Use your voice box a little bit more, put another twist on it. Cause like, it's a new era, right? So that's kind of like what I'm stepping into. Like I'll be the new voice.
Very, very cool, bro. Well, I mean, so if people want to reach out or find out more about you, what's the best place to do it?
The best place to do would be like Instagram, Eliam.Fuentes.
Okay.
So that would be the best place. I'm also on TikTok, Twitter, not that active, but Twitter on there. So Instagram and TikTok. Yep.
Eliam. Awesome, bro. Well, cool. Very cool.